Can you hear me? Monica and Bhagirath? Praveen Kumar, can you hear me?
Hello, sir.
Can you hear me, Praveen Kumar?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just a moment. I'll do a screen share.
Okay.
Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
You're able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in yesterday's session, I have explained you about the what is software testing, okay, and what is SDLC. Today, I'll continue with SDLC waterfall model, okay? Okay. So yesterday we were talking about waterfall model. Okay, waterfall model is a linear and sequential approach. Okay, so in software development lifecycle, waterfall model is used for product development. Okay, so let's talk about the design part now. Okay, let's talk about the design part. Okay. Yesterday, I already spoke about the requirements. Okay. So today,
Sir,
in
I'm newly
waterfall,
joined.
yeah, go on, Praveen. Praveen? Design. Okay. In waterfall model, let's talk about the design. Okay. So what is design? So what we do in design, okay? Who is responsible for design? Okay. So in design, okay. Okay. So let's talk about design. So previous session, we spoke about the requirements gathering. So who is responsible for requirements gathering? Requirements gathering, the business analyst is responsible. So now in design phase, the designers, design phase, okay, the design phase, the designers are involved. Okay, what the designers do, okay, what the designers do, okay, I'll explain you what the designers do. Designers design the wireframes. Remember this term, wireframes. Wireframes. So I'll give you one example of wireframes. Okay, so what is wireframes? Okay, so if you see, there you go. If you see the outer layout of a website. Yeah. If you see, this is a wireframe. This is the outer layout. Okay. Let's take, for example, let's take ICICI Bank. Okay. ICICI Bank. So the designers, the web designers design the outer layout of the website. Okay. This phase is called the design phase. Okay. In design phase, the designers, okay, will design the outer layout of the website in this phase. Okay. So this is design phase. Who are involved is the web designers. Web designers. Web designers. Okay. Again in design phase. Okay, let's say in design phase, we have we have LLD, we have LLD and HLD. So what is LLD? It is low level design. Okay, low level design. Similarly, we have high level design. Yeah. Simple example. Okay. So low level design are mostly the wireframes. Okay. So what are the wireframes? As I told you, it is the layout. Okay. It is a website layout. Okay. It is a website level. And then we have the high level design document. Okay. In high level design document, we have the architectural diagrams. Okay. I'll show you the example architectural diagrams. Just trying to find one architectural diagram so it helps you to understand. Yeah, let's take this example. Okay, this is, yeah. So if you see, this is one of the architectural diagrams. If you see end users, we have firewall, we got load balancer. Okay, these kind of diagrams. Okay, these kind of design documents. Okay, to see the end-to-end flow, to see the end-to-end flow. Okay, so this is e-commerce infrastructure. Okay, how the data when the user logs in, so how the firewall protects the user. Okay, how the load is balanced, how it hits the web servers, how it talks to the app servers, and how it talks to the database. Okay, these kind of, okay, these kind of architectural diagrams are all high level design document, which is called as HLD. Okay, which is called as HLD, which is high level design document. So who is responsible for these? Who is responsible for this is, in organization, who is responsible for this is technical architect. Okay. Technical architect is responsible for, we have two design documents. We have two, which is low level design and high level design. Low level design are mainly frameworks. Okay. So, which is, for example, if you go into the ICICI website, okay, if you go into the ICICI website, so you can find all the design layouts. So this is done by the designers. Okay. Similarly, we have the architectural. This is done by the technical architect. Okay. Any questions on this as of now?
No, sir.
No. Yeah? Then let's move on to the next one, next phase. Okay. So the next phase is development phase. Okay. So the next phase is development phase. Development phase. Okay. So before going to development phase, we had two more phases, which was requirements phase and design phase. Okay. So what are the outcomes of requirements phase and the design phase? Okay. So the two main outcomes of requirement phase and design phase is, in requirements phase, we have requirement specification document. Okay. Requirement specification document. Okay. So we have requirement specification document. From the design phase, we have design documents, both high level and low level. Okay. So now in development phase, okay. So now in development phase, and we also have the SRS, which is software requirements specification document. So what we have in software requirement specification document. So I'll explain you what we have in software specification document. So software specification document is a document where the developer okay, developer, the BA, which is business analyst, and the technical architect. They decide, okay, they decide, okay, these three, okay, these three decide if we are developing, okay, if we are developing a banking website. Okay, this is a banking website. Okay, this is an ICICI banking website. Okay, this is an ICICI banking website. They decide what softwares are required. Okay, so for example, they might use Microsoft Visual Studio. Okay, they might use Microsoft Visual Studio, and they might use for database SQL database. Okay, they use SQL database. Okay, to test the API, they might use the Postman tools. Okay, so these are the things they discuss, and these are the things they discuss. The developer, the BA, the technical architect discuss which are the tools to be used to develop the banking application. Okay, so those kind of specifications will go in SRS document, which is software requirement specification document. Okay, any questions as of now? Any questions, guys? You can hear me and see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
No, sir.
Yeah.
No
Okay,
doubts.
perfect. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the development phase, which I was talking about. Okay. Development phase. So in development phase, okay, we have the SRS document. Okay, we have the SRS document. We have the requirements. We have the requirement specification document. Okay, so in this document, we gather all the information regarding, in SRS document, we gather the information regarding what tools need to be going in developing the website, what are the challenges we will face when using these tools, and any other software related. In requirement specifications document, we will gather all the requirements from the client. Okay, and then next we have design documents, both high level and low level. Okay, LLD and HLD, high level documents. Okay, so in development phase now, what really happens is the developers, okay, the developers with the help of these documents, developers, with the help of these documents, okay, the developers, with the help of these documents, they start implementing the code. Okay, they start implementing the code. So this is implementation of the code. Okay, developers start implementing the code, or writing the code. Okay, so what they do is they understand these documents, they understand the SRS document, they understand the requirement specification document, they understand the design documents. Okay, based on that, they start writing the code. Okay, okay. If you see, this is the Visual Studio. Okay, this is where the developers write their code. Are you able to see my screen? This one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is where the developers will write their code. This is all the code. Okay. So this is a tool. This is Visual Studio. This is Visual Studio. This is where they write the code. Okay. To implement a banking application. Okay. As an example, I'm showing you. Okay. Yeah. Let's get back to, yeah. So in development phase, the developers, based on the SRS document, requirement specification document, design documents, in which we have LLD and HLD, which is low level design and high level design, the developers start implementing the code and writing the code. So this phase is called the development phase. Okay, this phase is called the development phase. I'll also explain you about the environments which are involved in it. Okay, environments. Okay, so this is development environment. Similarly, we have test environment. Okay, this is very important. You need to understand this, how the environments work. Okay, yeah. Okay, Okay. So I'll explain you about the environments here. Okay. We have the development environment. Okay. One is development environment. One is test environment. One is UAT environment. And one is live or production environment. Okay. So these are all the 4 environments which are involved. Okay. Which are involved. Okay. So in development environment, the developer writes the code. Okay. In development environment, the developer writes the code. Okay. Once the developer finishes writing the code will be deployed onto test environment. The reason it is deployed onto the test environment is to test whatever has been developed. Okay. So deployment is done. Okay. Similarly, when in the testing environment, the testing is completed, again, it will be deployed into UAT environment. Okay. It will be deployed into UAT environment. Deployed into UAT environment. So what is UAT environment? UAT environment is nothing but user acceptance testing environment. Okay. User acceptance testing. Okay. So development environment, it is the responsibility of the developer. Test environment, it is the responsibility of the tester. Okay. And UAT environment, it is the responsibility of the client. Okay. And client and some of the users who haven't used the banking application. Okay. Those people are involved. The business people are involved in UAT. The client and the business people are involved in UAT. So which is called as UAT, user acceptance testing environment. Okay. Once when the testing is finished in UAT environment, the deployment will be done in live and production environment. Okay. So whatever now, for example, if we take the banking application, if you see this banking application, this is a live or production environment. This is live environment. Okay. This is live environment. Any questions on this? Any questions on environments?
Live production environment.
Yeah. So live production. So what happens is, if you see this banking application, this is the live or production environment. Live or production, you can call live environment or production environment. So when I say this is a live environment, this is used by customers across the world. Many people are using it and this is live. Okay. Here you can't make any changes on this environment. You can't make any changes. You can't develop anything. You can't test on this environment. Okay. Hope you understood, Monica. This is live
Yes,
environment.
sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay, nice. So in the waterfall model, you also understood the development phase. Okay, you understood the development phase and you also understood about the environments. Okay, now let's move on to the next phase, which is the testing phase. This is very important. Okay, testing phase. So now in waterfall model, we have moved on to the next one, which is the testing phase. Okay. So this is where the testers come into picture. Okay, this is where the testers are involved. This is where the testing will happen. Okay, the main important part of software testing, the testing will happen in this phase. Okay, so who is responsible for this? The software testers are responsible. Okay, software testers. or QA analyst. These are all the names for software testing. Okay, the person who is involved, the person who will test. Okay, software testers or quality assurance analysts. Okay, is responsible for this. Testing phase. Okay, so what happens in testing phase? Okay, now as we know that we have the requirement specification document with us. Okay, requirement specification document. Okay, we have the SRS document. Okay, and then we have the LLD and HLD, in which we have wireframes and architecture flow diagrams. Okay, architecture flow diagrams. Okay, okay, so based on this, what happens is, based on these documents, the role of tester is to write his test plan. Okay, write his test plan, write his test cases. Okay, I'll explain you this one. Okay, okay, so based on these documents, who is responsible for what? Okay, so in testing phase, we have, you need to understand this. Okay, we have test manager. We have test lead. Okay, we have senior tester. Okay, and then we got test analyst. Okay, and then we have test analyst. Okay, so who is responsible for what in the testing phase? Okay, the test manager. Okay, the test manager is mainly into the delivery of the project. So he is involved in delivery of the project. Okay, mainly he will be focusing on the quality and testing process, and also he is involved in hiring test resources. Okay, so the test manager, okay, in an organization, if we have a big team, the test manager is mainly responsible for delivery of the project from quality perspective. Okay, when I say delivery of the project from quality perspective is because he will set up the test processes. Okay, he will be involved in hiring new testers. Okay, he will analyze the project. Okay, he'll analyze the project, and he, based on the work, okay, based on the testing involved, he will analyze and he will He will understand, okay, how many testers we require for this project. Okay. So he will hire the test resources. Okay. So this is the main responsibilities of the test manager. Okay. Similarly, we have test lead in the organization. Okay. He will be managing the project. Whichever project is assigned, he will be managing the project. Okay. Managing the project. And next is the test lead will write the test plan document. Okay. And he will manage the test team. Okay. So under test lead, we might have 4 or 5 testers. Okay. We might have 4 or 5 testers. So one is one test manager. Under the test manager, we have test lead. Okay. Test lead will have 4 to 5 testers under him. Okay. So this is the hierarchy. And the next is we have senior tester. Okay. Senior tester are more experienced. Okay. Experienced testers. Okay. So they are involved in test plans. Okay. And writing the test cases. And execute the test cases. Execute test cases. Okay. So what is the responsibility of a senior tester? Senior tester has more experience. Okay. So he's involved in writing the test plans, test cases, and execute the test cases. Similarly, we have the test analyst. Test analyst will write test cases and execute test cases. Okay. Okay. So these are the main roles. These are the main roles of various people who are involved in testing. Okay. So in testing, we have test manager, test lead, senior tester, and test analyst. Okay. So again, test analyst below, we have junior testers. Okay. We also have junior testers. So we will just conclude till here. Okay. We will put it as test analyst. Okay. Any questions? Any questions until now? Praveen, Monica, Swami, Bhagirath,
No, sir.
you're okay? Praveen?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, so what happens in testing phase is, okay, the software testers, okay, they have the requirement specification document with them. They have the SRS document with them. They have the low level and high level design documents. They have the wireframes. They have the architectural flow diagrams. Okay, they have all these documents. Okay, they have all these documents. So based on these documents, okay, based on these documents, they will write test plan document. This is very important. Okay. Software testing projects will have test plan document. Okay. The next one is test scenarios document. Okay. The next one is test cases document. Okay. So based on these documents, the testers will write the test plan document, test scenario document, test cases document. Okay. As I told you already, test plan document is written by test manager and test lead. Okay. So for example, if the test manager is busy with something else, the test plan document is written by the test lead and the senior tester. Okay. So if there is a new organization, if there is a new startup company, and they have hired or recruited only a test analyst. So in this case, the test analyst will write the test plan document. Okay, are you clear on this? Who writes the test plan document? Yeah. It depends upon the situation, like in whichever organization you are there. Okay. Similarly, the test scenario document is responsibility of test analyst, senior tester. Okay. Similarly, test cases document, it is a responsibility of the test analyst and the senior tester. Okay. And these documents are called deliverables. Okay. 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 So, as I told you, for example, let's go back to the, okay. So let's go back to the waterfall model. In waterfall model, the first phase is requirements document. Okay. So first, the requirements document is written by the business analyst. Okay. The requirement specification document is written by the business analyst. Okay. So the document, as I told you, the document will be signed off. Okay. Once when it is signed off, we cannot make any changes. Okay. So the requirements will be signed off. And next, when the design phase happens, in the design phase, the wireframes are designed by the web designers, the architectural diagrams by the technical architect. Again, these documents have to be signed off. Okay, the software specification document, these have to be signed off. Similarly, test plan document, test scenario document, test cases document has to be signed off. When I say signed off is, it is agreed. Okay, whoever reviews this document is, so the business analyst, the developer, whoever reviews the test plan document, they will agree that the test plan is okay. They agree that with the test plan, we can go ahead. Okay. So once when it is signed off, we cannot make changes. Okay. Are you clear on that? Okay. Okay. Next, moving on to the deployment phase. Okay. Deployment phase. Yeah. Let's move on to the deployment phase. So what happens in deployment phase? Are you able to see my screen? Yeah. So explained you. Okay. So what happens in deployment phase is, yeah, I'll explain you with an example now. Okay. Deployment phase. deployment. Okay, so in deployment phase, what happens is we have something called as build. Okay, I'll explain you about build. These are very important terminologies which you need to understand. There is build. Okay, let's say this is build 1. Okay, in build 1, the developers have developed the login functionality. Okay, the developers have developed login functionality. So what is login functionality? Let's go to the ICICI Bank. Okay, so here, if you see, this is one login functionality. When you click on login functionality, what happens is it will go on to this login page where the user has to enter the user ID and enter the registration number to log into the bank, internet banking. Okay. In build 1, we have login functionality. Okay. Similarly, we have another functionality. Let's take this NRI. Okay. We have got NRI functionality. NRI. Okay. NRI functionality. Okay. There are now two functionalities in build 1. Okay. There are two functionalities. There are two functionalities. Okay. So in build 1, we have two functionalities. So what happens is the developer has finished writing the code for login functionality and NRI functionality in build 1. Okay. In build 1, we have two functionalities, which is login and NRI functionality. So these two functionalities in the development environment, okay, he has written the code. Okay. So once when he has written the code, once when the unit testing is completed, the developer will deploy the login functionality and the NRI functionality into the test environment. The reason he will deploy onto the test environment is they are ready for testing. Okay. Did you understand this build? Any questions on this? Because this is very important. Any questions, Praveen, Monica, Swami, Bhagirath?
No, sir.
No. Okay, nice. So what happens is in build 1, so once when it is ready for testing, it has been deployed onto test environment. So as a tester, the tester will perform testing on login functionality and NRI functionality. Okay. The tester who has written his test cases, will execute the test cases in test environment. Okay. Similarly, once when the build one is tested, the build 1 will be deployed onto UAT environment. Okay. In UAT environment, the client or the business people who are involved in it, they will test it. Okay. And once when the testing is completed in UAT environment, it will be deployed onto live or production environment. Okay. We can say live environment. Okay. Once when it is in live environment, we can't make any changes. Okay. It is gone live. Similarly, we will have many builds. Okay. Similarly, we will have many builds. Build 2. Build 3. So what does the build 2, build 3 consist is, they will consist of functionalities. What are the functionalities? Okay. So in build 1, we had the login functionality and NRI functionality. In build 2, you might have the business functionality and the gift city functionality. Okay. Okay. In build 3, you might have the corporate functionality. Okay. If you click on corporate, you need to land on the corporate page. Okay. In build 5 and 6, you might have the current account functionality. In build 7, you might have transact functionality. Build 7, build 8, credit and care functionality. Okay. Every build will have functionalities of features, we call them as. Okay. And they will be deployed. First, the developer, when he writes the code, he deploys onto the test environment, UAT and live. Okay. This is how the development phase works. Okay. This is what the development phase is. So in development phase, the development will happen. Okay. And the next one is maintenance phase. Okay. The last one is maintenance phase.
Sir,
Yeah.
the builds are deployed one by one or at the time. Both
Yeah.
these
Builds
are
are, builds are deployed one by one. One by one.
okay.
Good question. Yeah. So this is a deployment phase. I put as development phase. I'm sorry. This is a deployment phase. Deployment phase. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is the maintenance phase. Okay, which is the last one. Maintenance phase. Okay, so maintenance phase. Every web application, let's take, for example, you have bought a new car. Okay, you bought a new car, and every 6 months or every 1 year, it has to be maintained. Okay, it has to maintain. We have to see the consistency. So you have to see like the brakes are working fine. Same way, the banking application also requires maintenance. Okay, this banking application will also requires maintenance. Okay, in maintenance, for example, sometimes there might be a upgrade of software. Okay, this is done in maintenance phase. Okay, similarly, we need to install some plugins. So this is done in maintenance phase. Okay, so any kind of support which needs to be done, They do it in maintenance phase. Okay. Usually in simple terms, it is a maintenance phase. Okay. Yeah. So maintenance phase. Any website, any web application has to be maintained. Okay. So the admin staff, okay, the system admin is responsible for maintenance phase. Okay. The system admin is responsible for the maintenance phase. Okay. Okay. System admin. System admin is responsible. Okay. So the maintenance phase is the last phase in waterfall model, where the website is also in maintenance phase. The website is constantly monitored, okay, updated and fixed after it is released, okay, to the users. Okay. The maintenance phase, okay, in maintenance phase, there might be performance improvement, okay, security enhancement. Okay. So these are the things which will happen in maintenance phase. Okay. So constant monitoring will be done in maintenance phase. So for example, I'll give you one example. In maintenance phase, usually they'll understand how many people are logging into the banking application. Okay. Based on this, they improve or they maintain the web application or the banking application, which we have taken as an example. So any questions in maintenance phase? Okay. So let's review the waterfall model. So in waterfall model, the waterfall model is a linear and sequential. When they say sequential, once when the requirements phase is completed, then they move to design phase. Okay. Once when the design phase is completed, then they move to development phase. Okay. Once after the development phase, they move to the testing phase. From the testing phase, they move to deployment phase. And from deployment phase, they move to maintenance phase. Okay. That is the reason they call it as sequential approach. Okay. Without finishing the requirements phase, the next phase, in waterfall model, we won't move to the next phase, which is design phase. Okay. Hope you understand the waterfall model. Any questions on waterfall model before moving on to the next one?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Let's talk about the V. Okay, let's talk about the V model. So in my previous lessons, in my previous session, I told you about SDLC, okay, which is software development lifecycle. In software development lifecycle, as I told you, there are various phases, okay. And also you need to remember that in software development lifecycle, we have different models, okay. One of the model which I've explained you today is waterfall model, okay. Now I will explain you about V model. So what is V model? So I'll explain you about V model. So V model is a type of software development lifecycle model where process executes in sequential manner in V shape. Okay, this is also sequential manner, but in V shape. Okay, it is also known as verification and validation model. Okay, verification and validation model. I'll explain you what is verification and validation. This is again very important. Okay, it is based on the association of testing phase for each corresponding development stage. Okay, development of each step directly associates with a testing phase. Okay, I'll explain you the V model, and this is also a very important model. Let's start V model. Let's see. V model. Okay, which is one of the SDLC models. Okay, let's say it is one of the SDLC model. One of the SDLC model. Okay, the first one here is requirements phase. In V model, the first one is requirements phase. Require. Okay, the first phase is requirements phase. So in requirements phase, as I've already told you, we got the requirement specification document. Okay, in requirement phase, who is responsible to write the requirements specification document? Anyone can answer this question? Who is responsible for requirement specification document?
Business analyst.
Business analyst. Perfect. Right. That's right. So here, what happens is in V model, when the requirement specification document is written, the same requirement specification document is forwarded to a tester. Okay, or a tester is also involved. Okay, so what happens is when the requirements phase, when the business analyst writes all the requirements, the tester will go through the requirement specification document. Okay, so the tester is involved from the starting stage. Okay, the tester is involved from the starting stage in V model. Okay, you need to remember this. Okay, you need to remember this. The tester is involved. So what tester will do? So what is tester's responsibility in requirements gathering phase, in requirements phase? So the tester will go through the requirement specification document. Okay, now if the tester finds any defects, okay, or any bugs, okay, those will be rectified at requirements phase level. Okay, those bugs or those defects will be fixed at requirements phase. Okay, so next move on to the next one, which is the design, which is the design phase. Let's move on to the design phase. design. We have LLD. We have, similarly, we have and HLD documents. Okay. Also in requirements phase, SRS document. Okay, SRS document. The tester will go through the SRS documents. Okay, mainly reviews will happen. Okay, reviews. Okay, reviews are done. Okay, reviews are done by testers. Okay, so now the low level and high level design documents. Again, what happens is the tester will review. The tester will review the low level design and the high level design documents. So the tester will review the low level design and the high level design documents. Okay. Now in this phase, in the design phase, if there are any defects or if there are any issues in the designs, the tester will raise a defect or a bug. Okay. And the design will be fixed or rectified at this level. Okay. So again, the tester is involved at this level. Right from the starting, the tester is involved. Okay. Okay. So the tester is involved. Next phase is implementation phase. The next phase is implementation. Coding phase. Okay. Implementation phase or coding phase. Okay. So here, as I told you that, so if you see, the structure is slowly forming into a V structure. Okay. Coding phase. Okay. So now this process, okay, so from here to here, so this process is called verification. Okay. Okay. So from here, let's say from here, this is called verification. So this is called verification. So what are you trying to verify here? You're trying to verify the documents. Okay. You're trying to verify the design documents. As a tester, you're trying to verify the design documents. Okay. As a tester, you're trying to perform the review of the documents. Okay. All this process is called verification. Okay. All this process is called verification. Okay. So now the implementation or the coding phase is happening. Okay. So once when the implementation and coding is done, so what happens is, as I told you in V model, for every phase, testing will happen. Okay. So here, what is happening is unit testing is happening. Okay. So anybody knows what is unit testing? Okay, I'll explain you what is unit testing. Let's take this as an example. Okay. This is a banking website. Okay. Banking web application. Okay. In banking web application, you will have lot of units of code. This is a small unit of code. This is a small unit of code. This is a small unit of code. These are all units of code, small units of code. Okay, small units of code. So the developer who is implementing the code will test his code. Okay, every unit will have a logic. Okay, I'll give you one example. So there is a calculator. Okay, in calculator, what happens is if you want to perform addition, okay, if you want to perform addition, you will say 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So this is a unit. This is a logic. Okay, so you need to enter 1. Okay, and the operation plus and plus 1 is equal to 2. Okay, this unit of code, okay, will be tested by the developer. Similarly, in banking application, let's say there is login function. Okay, behind the scenes, whatever is happening, okay, the developer will test this. Okay, so when you click on the button, when you click on the login button, it has to land on this page. Okay, it has to land on this page. Similarly, when you enter the user ID, okay, it has to verify the database whether the user ID exists or not. Okay, this kind of logic or this kind of code or unit is tested by the developer. Okay, that is called unit testing. Okay, so in the banking web application, there might be a lot of units of code. Okay, so before deploying to the test environment, the developer will perform unit testing. Any questions on this, please? Any questions on this?
No, sir.
No. Okay, so now let's move on. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this is done. And then the next one is integration testing. Okay, the next one is integration testing. So what happens in integration testing? Okay, once when the unit testing is completed, okay, the next one is integration testing. Okay, so all this logic, okay, all these units, okay, so in unit testing, the developer has performed the unit testing, so he is confident that the units work. So this unit, they're all working fine. But in integration testing, they are integrated. Okay, these two are integrated and then they are tested. Okay, these two are integrated, then the whole 1, 2, 3 all have to be tested. Okay, this will be integrated, all the 4 will be tested. Again, this will be integrated, all the 5. That's how the integration testing will be done. Okay, So let's take the same example on the web application, on the banking application. Okay. So what happens here in the banking application is, okay. So what happens in the banking application is, okay. So this is a banking application. Okay. So login function. And then once when the login function is, if you say this is a unit, okay, they will, in the next build, they put the personal. Okay. So these two have to be tested together. Okay. So they see that if they are integrated properly or not. Okay. So when you hover on personal, you should have these options coming up. Okay. They integrate the gift city, they integrate the corporate, they integrate the business, they integrate the NRI, they integrate all of these and test it. Okay. Okay. One by one, they integrate it and they test it. Okay. So this is integration testing. Okay. Any questions? Any questions on integration testing? No, if
Sir,
not,
unit test is done in implementation, sir.
yes, that's right. In implementation phase.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So now moving on to the next one is in V model. Move on to the next one, which is system testing. Okay. System testing. Okay. So in implementation and coding phase, we have these two testing phases. Okay. Now what happens is we are in testing. Okay. We are testing the whole system. Okay. Automatically, when we are in testing the system, we are in testing phase. Okay. We are in testing phase. So in system testing, when we say system testing, we are testing, we are performing testing after unit and integration testing. After unit and integration testing, we perform the system testing. Okay. In system testing, we perform the complete end-to-end testing. Okay. So the whole system, the whole web application, whole banking application will be tested. Who is responsible for this? The testers are responsible. Okay. The testers are responsible for the system testing. So when you say the phase in which we are involved in system testing is the testing phase, automatically this is testing phase. Okay. And now we will move on to the acceptance testing. Okay. We'll move on to the next one, which is acceptance testing. Okay. So now this is acceptance testing. So what happens in acceptance testing? Okay. Okay. So in the system testing, once when the testers confirm, okay, that the build is fine, okay, all the functionalities have been tested, so the code will be deployed onto UAT, which is acceptance testing. Okay. So this is a deployment phase. Okay. So you need to understand this is a deployment phase. Okay. So in acceptance testing, what happens is the business people or the stakeholders are involved. Okay. So those people will test the banking application before going into live. Okay. So when I say acceptance testing, the people from ICICI Bank, okay, the people from ICICI Bank, they are involved in user acceptance testing. Okay, because they are the people, okay, they are the people who first want to see how this has been developed. They want to find any bugs, any defects. Okay, they want to see whether we can release it to the customers or not. Okay, so from ICICI Bank, the business people, okay, the business people, the people who have the stakeholders, the management people, those people will be involved in user acceptance testing. Okay, this is a phase. Now, this is very important again. So from here, it is called validation. Okay, it's called validation. Okay, so this is called verification and this is called validation. Anybody can find the difference here in validation and verification in V model. Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, so in verification, what we did was we only have gone through the documents. Okay, in verification, we have only gone through the documents, which is requirement specification document, which is SRS, software requirement specification document. We have reviewed the design document, high level design document, low level design document. Okay, but in validation phase, actually in validation phase, we have tested the test cases. We have actually tested the logic. Okay, if you see, the developer has tested the logic. Okay, he has executed some code. Okay, in integration testing, he has executed some code to validate. Okay, in system testing, the testers have executed their test cases. Okay, no reading, no understanding, no verification has been done here. Okay, no documents have been reviewed, only execution has been done based on the documents. Okay, this is called validation. Okay, hope you understand this.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So now I'll explain you. So I'll explain you what are the disadvantages of V model. Okay, V model is a least flexible. Okay, no much flexibility is available in V model. Okay, so if any changes happen, okay, if any changes happen in midway, then the test documentation along with the requirements document has to be updated. Okay, this is one of the disadvantages. Okay, so mainly the advantages of V model are they are used for small and medium-sized projects. For big projects, we can't use them. Okay, for larger projects, we can't use them. Okay, overall, any questions on V model? Okay, so I'll review the V model. So V model is a sequential manner, okay, which happens in V shape. Okay, and it is also known as verification and validation model. Okay, verification and validation model. So every phase of V model is associated with testing. Okay, so whichever phase is involved, it is associated with testing, which I've explained you. Okay, so if this phase if we are in requirements phase, yes, it has been associated with testing. We have verified the documents. Implementation, yes, unit testing has been done by the developers. Okay, testing, testers are involved. Okay, So every phase, the testing has been involved. Okay. Any questions until now? Before moving into the most important, the agile model. I'll move on to the next one.
Tell
Agile.
me.
Yeah.
Tell me
Monica.
again. Acceptance, sir.
Acceptance, correct. Okay. So acceptance is, yeah. So what happens is, once when the system testing is completed, okay, once when the test cases, okay, have been executed, okay, where the system testing will happen? The system testing will happen in the test environment, okay. It is the testing phase. You can also call it the testing phase, okay. The testing will happen in the test environment, okay. Once when the testing is completed, the next phase is acceptance, okay, acceptance testing. So why we require acceptance testing is, so as testers we have confirmed that the functionalities are working fine in test environment, okay. We have confirmed that all the functionalities, the features, the login functionality, everything is working fine in test environment, okay. So now as testers, we confirm that, saying that the code can be deployed onto UAT environment, which is another environment. Okay. This is where the acceptance testing is considered. Okay. So this is where the acceptance testing is considered. So in acceptance testing, okay, after the deployment of the code from the test environment onto the UAT environment, okay, so the acceptance testing will be done. So who is responsible for acceptance testing? It is the acceptance testing. The people who are responsible for acceptance testing are the business team from whichever bank. Since we have taken the example of a banking application, so we got users from ICICI. So they will test the banking application in UAT environment. Okay, in UAT environment. So once they are comfortable, once they think that the web banking application is working fine in UAT environment, which is the acceptance testing, okay, which is the acceptance testing, then they confirm that the code can be deployed onto live environment. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. Next is agile model. Yes, agile model. Agile. Okay. Again, not to get confused. So in software development life cycle, we have various models. Okay, we have waterfall model, we have V model, and we have now the agile model. Okay, now we have the agile model. So before explaining about the agile model, okay, I'll tell you that now in the current market, okay, in the current market, most of the organizations are using agile model. Okay, most of the organizations are using agile model. Okay, and again, agile model is one of the SDLC models. Okay, agile model is one of the SDLC models. So now I'll explain you in detail what is agile. Okay, so this is again very important one. Okay, very important one. I'll explain you. Okay, so let's start the agile model. Okay, most of the organizations, guys, most of the organizations currently they are using the agile model. Okay, so and also as a tester, when you start testing in interview questions, they will ask you about agile model. Okay, agile model. Let's start one by one. Okay, so agile model. In agile model, okay, in agile model, let's take, don't get confused here. Okay, in agile model, okay, in agile model, okay, in agile model, we have different methodologies. Okay, different methodologies. Models are different, methodologies are different. Okay, we have many methodologies. I'll also explain you which is the main methodology in the current market they are using. Okay, methodologies. Remember this term. Remember this term. Methodologies. Okay. In agile model, we have many methodologies. I'll explain you one by one. Okay. We have one methodology which is called as Scrum. Okay. One is Scrum. And then we have another one which is called as Kanban. Okay, Kanban. And we have another one which is lean methodology. Okay. We have another one which is called as extreme programming. Extreme programming. Okay. And then we got something as crystal. And then when we got something as FDD, so which is called feature driven development. Okay, FDD is nothing but feature driven development. And we have many more, which is, let's call them as others. Okay. So Agile is a software development model, okay, in which we have got different methodologies. Okay, some of the methodologies in Agile model are Scrum, Kanban, Lean, Extreme Programming, Crystal, FDD, which is called Feature-Driven Development, and others. We also have some more. Okay. Okay. So in the market, the main important one is most of the companies, 90%, okay, 90% are using the Scrum. Okay, 90% are using the Scrum. Okay, which is number one. Okay, which is number one. Okay, so this is the one main one which is used, which they use. Okay. Okay, so in the current market, lot of companies they use the agile model, in which they use one methodology which is called Scrum. Okay, Scrum methodology. So now let's talk about the agile Scrum. Okay, let's call it as agile Scrum. Okay, whatever we talk further, it's all about agile Scrum. Yeah, so now anybody has got any questions here? Okay, don't get confused regarding agile model. Okay, anybody, please, if they have questions, Monica, Praveen, Swami, Bhagirath.
No, sir.
No, perfect. Okay, now I'll explain you about the agile Scrum framework. Okay, agile Scrum framework. This is very important. This is important than other models, waterfall or B, because currently in the market, they use this. Okay, agile Scrum framework. So let's talk about the agile Scrum framework. Okay. So agile Scrum framework, agile follows some principles and processes. Okay. The first one, let's talk about the sprints in agile. Let's talk about the sprints. Okay. SPRINT. Sprint or sprints. Okay. Let's talk about the sprints in agile. Okay. Okay. Agile framework, we have sprints. Okay. Let's talk about the sprint. Okay. Okay. So sprints are nothing but in agile, software development in iterations is known as sprint. Okay. Software development in iterations is nothing but sprints. Okay. Let's take this example. So sprints. Okay, let's talk about sprints now. So this is sprint 1. Okay. So software. So in Agile Scrum, the software will be developed in incremental manner. Okay, in incremental manner. If you see here the circle, in every sprint, it is incrementing into a bigger size. Okay, if this circle in the front in the sprint 1, it is smaller in size. Okay, in sprint 2, it has increased in size, or let's say increased in value. Okay, it is increased in value. In sprint 4, it is increased in value. Now it is sprint 5. Okay, in Agile Scrum, sprints are duration. Okay, sprints are between. Okay, sprints are between sprints are between 1 to 4 weeks. Okay, so one sprint can be 1 week, one sprint can be 2 weeks, one sprint can be 3 weeks, one sprint can be 4 weeks. But in our example, let's take one sprint. Okay, sprint 1 is equal to 2 weeks. Okay, let's take the example as one sprint is equal to 2 weeks. Okay, so in 2 weeks, okay, let's say we have, yeah. Okay, so any questions on sprint as of now? Any questions?
Yes, sir.
How long is a sprint? Okay, and software development will happen in incremental manner in sprints. No questions here. Okay, I will come back to what happens in every sprint. Okay, before that, since we know that what is a sprint, how long is a sprint, okay, let's talk about the roles involved in. Let's talk about the roles involved in. Okay. Let's talk about the roles involved in. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the roles involved in. So, yeah. So, what are these Scrum roles? Okay. So, in Waterfall, we understood we require a business analyst, we require a project manager, we require development team, we require developers. Okay. And in Scrum, the roles involved are, I will type in Scrum roles. Okay. Scrum roles. Okay. When you're working in an organization, at this point of time, if you have got a job in Amazon or if you got a job in Accenture, okay, so most of the companies, as I told you, They're using Agile Scrum. Okay. They have Scrum roles. Okay. Like product owner. Next one is Scrum Master. And the next one is development team. I will explain you individually the responsibilities of product owner, Scrum Master, and development team. Okay. I'll explain you individually. Okay. Product owner. Let's talk about product owner. Okay. Who is product owner? Okay. So before understanding who is product owner, before understanding Scrum Master, before understanding development team, you have to understand what is a product backlog. Okay. You need to understand what is a user story. You need to understand what is an epic. Okay. I'll explain you these things. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now I'll explain you about the sprints. I'll explain you what is an epic. Okay. You need to remember these terms, okay? Epic. Epic. So what is epic? Okay. So as I explained you about requirements, okay? So when the requirements are broken down into smaller forms, okay? Requirements, and they are broken down into smaller. When the requirements are broken down into smaller, which are broken into smaller forms. Okay, smaller forms. Requirements, whichever requirements are broken down into smaller forms are called epics. Okay, okay, epics. Epics. So epics will, no, epics will, let's say, epics will contain user stories. Okay, user stories. Okay, so again, smaller forms of epics. Okay, smaller forms. Okay, one line requirements are called user stories. Okay, one line requirements. I'll give you one example for a user story. Okay, let's say user story one. Okay, one of the user story one is, it is equal to, let's say, login functionality. Login functionality. That is one user story. Next one is user story 2, payment function. Okay, so these are user stories. Okay, epics are nothing but requirements which are broken into smaller forms. Those are called epics. Okay, the epics will have titles. Okay, I'll explain you with a Jira example. Okay, I'll take the tool Jira. In the Jira tool, I'll explain you with an example. Okay, in the coming class, okay, in the next class, I'll explain you how to write epics, how to write user stories, how the requirements are broken down into smaller forms. Okay, any questions in today's class? Praveen, Monica, Swami, Bagheera.
Sir, user story is a one line.
Yes, yeah, user story is a one line. I will show you with an example in Jira. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll show you in Jira. So how to write user stories. I'll explain you about how in the user story there is the acceptance criteria. Okay, definition of done. I'll explain you all of these things in user story. Okay. I'll also explain you about the definition of user story. So in an interview question, if they ask you what is a user story, I'll also explain you about that. Okay.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay.
Let's conclude the session today, and we will catch up next week, same time, Saturday.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.